Shahrayar, Sultan of the Endless Sands. A name whispered in awe, a name uttered in fear. He ruled a kingdom vast and ancient, stretching from the shores of the Emerald Sea to the mountains of the moon. His palaces shimmered with gold and echoed with laughter. But beneath the surface of opulence, a darkness lurked, a shadow of grief and rage. For Shahrayar, the world had become a tapestry woven with betrayal. His heart, once a garden of love, was now a barren wasteland. The cause? The infidelity of his first wife. Her treachery had shattered his faith in womankind. It ignited a fury that consumed him, leaving only ashes in its wake. He declared a decree, a chilling testament to his pain. Each night, he would take a new bride. And each dawn, he would send her to her death. A gruesome spectacle that sent shivers down the spines of his subjects. A desperate attempt to cauterize the wound in his soul. But Shahrayar's ruthlessness was more than a reaction to personal betrayal. The air crackled with intrigue. Spies, their loyalties fluid as water, moved silently through the Sultan's court. They were shadows within shadows, whispering secrets in the dead of night, each word a drop of poison, slowly seeping into the heart of the Sultan's power. Rumors of King Frederick's machinations reached Shahrayar's ears. Frederick, a man of boundless ambition and ruthlessness, saw Shahrayar's vulnerability as an opportunity. He coveted the riches of the Sultan's lands. He craved the power that came with conquering such a kingdom. Frederick's spies were everywhere, their fingers in every pie. They sowed dissent among the Sultan's advisors, whispering doubts and suspicions. They spread rumors of rebellion in the provinces, hoping to weaken Shahrayar's grip on his vast empire. Shahrayar, however, was not a ruler to be underestimated. He had his own network of informants, their eyes and ears scattered throughout the land. He knew of Frederick's envy. He understood the whispers that snaked through his court. He would not be an easy target. Shahrayar, schooled in the art of war from a young age, was a master strategist. He knew that a direct confrontation with Frederick would be disastrous. Frederick commanded a powerful army, hardened by years of warfare. Shahrayar needed time to shore up his defenses, to rally his allies, to prepare for the inevitable conflict. His response to Frederick's treachery was swift and decisive. He dispatched his most trusted general, the Leopard of the Desert, to secure the border fortresses. He doubled the guard around his palace, his eyes watchful for any sign of treachery. The Leopard, a man as fierce and unforgiving as his namesake, was the Sultan's most feared warrior. He had earned his name through countless victories, his campaign's legend. He instilled fear in the hearts of his enemies and commanded the unwavering loyalty of his men. With the Leopard guarding the borders, Shahrayar turned his attention inward. He needed to root out the traitors within his court. The vipers nestled close to his heart. But identifying them was like catching smoke. They moved in the shadows, their motives as elusive as desert mirages. Among the Sultan's advisors, one man stood out. His name was Jafar, the royal vizier. Cunning and ambitious, Jafar was the serpent in the Sultan's garden. He yearned for power, and he saw in Shahrayar's grief an opportunity to advance his own position. Jafar, whispering poison into the Sultan's ear, fanned the flames of Shahrayar's rage. He encouraged the Sultan's cruelty, convincing him that it was a sign of strength. All the while, Jafar consolidated his own power, weaving a web of deceit that ensnared the Sultan. Unknown to Shahrayar, Jafar had been contacted by King Frederick. He had been promised unimaginable wealth and a position of power in Frederick's new regime if he helped overthrow the Sultan. Jafar, blinded by greed and ambition, readily agreed. The stage was set for a deadly game of cat and mouse. Shahrayar, consumed by grief and suspicion, was surrounded by enemies, both foreign and domestic. Despite the looming threat of war and the whispers of treachery that surrounded him, Shahrayar was not without conscience. The nightly ritual of marriage and death weighed heavily upon him. Each dawn, as he ordered the execution of another innocent woman, a part of him withered inside. He was trapped in a cycle of pain and vengeance, unable to break free. The memory of his first wife's betrayal haunted him, poisoning his every thought. He longed for peace, for an end to the gnawing ache in his heart. But he saw no way out. He sought solace in the ancient texts of his ancestors, poring over scrolls filled with tales of love, loss, and redemption. He consulted with wise men and holy women, seeking guidance and understanding. but their words offered little comfort. Shahrayar, once a wise and just ruler, was lost in a labyrinth of his own making. He knew that his actions were pushing his kingdom towards the abyss, but he felt powerless to stop himself. The weight of the crown pressed heavily upon Shahrayar's brow. He had inherited a kingdom bathed in the golden light of 1,000 sunsets. Now it felt as though storm clouds gathered on the horizon, threatening to plunge his world into darkness. His every decision, every word, carried the weight of his ancestors. He was the guardian of their legacy, the protector of their dreams. Yet he felt himself failing them. His people, once vibrant and hopeful, now moved with a subdued fear. The markets, once bustling with life, were quieter now. The laughter of children, once a constant melody in the streets, was now a rarity. Shahrayar knew that he needed to act, to find a way to break the cycle of violence that threatened to consume his kingdom. But what could he do? How could he atone for the sins he had committed? One night, as Shahrayar wrestled with his demons, a beautiful melody drifted through the palace gardens. It was a song of such aching beauty, such haunting sorrow, that it stopped the Sultan in his tracks. He followed the sound to its source, a hidden grove bathed in moonlight. There, perched on the branch of a cypress tree, was a nightingale, its throat pulsing with song. As Shahrayar listened, he felt a glimmer of hope flicker within him. The nightingale's song spoke of love and loss, of hope and despair. It was a song that echoed the turmoil in Shahrayar's own heart. Yet there was something more, a thread of resilience, a hint of something beyond the darkness. Could it be, Shahrayar wondered, that even in the face of such pain, there was still beauty to be found in the world? Could there be a way to move beyond the shadows of the past, to embrace the possibility of a brighter future? Even as Shahrayar found solace in the nightingale's song, the drums of war beat louder. King Frederick, emboldened by Shahrayar's apparent weakness, was massing his armies on the border. His spies reported that an attack was imminent. Shahrayar, roused from his despair, knew that the time for mourning was over. He needed to act, to defend his kingdom, his people. He summoned his advisors, his generals, and his most trusted warriors. The air crackled with tension as Shahrayar addressed his court. He spoke of the threat they faced, of the need for unity and courage. He vowed to defend his kingdom to the death. His words, filled with a newfound resolve, resonated through the chamber, igniting a spark of hope in the hearts of his people. The time for games was over. The time for whispers and shadows had passed. The fate of a kingdom, the destiny of a king, hung in the balance. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the course of history. Word reached Shahrayar of a powerful sorcerer who resided in the Whispering Sands, a desolate region far to the east. Legend held that this sorcerer, known only as the Ancient One, possessed knowledge and power that defied comprehension. Desperate for any advantage, Shahrayar embarked on a perilous journey to seek the Ancient One's aid. He traveled for weeks, crossing treacherous deserts and navigating through ancient ruins. Finally, he arrived at the sorcerer's lair, a hidden oasis shimmering in the heat. The Ancient One, a wizened figure with eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe, listened intently as Shahrayar poured out his heart. He spoke of his grief, his rage, and his desperate need to break free from the cycle of violence. The Ancient One, his voice a low rumble, offered a cryptic prophecy. "The key to your redemption," he whispered, "lies not in death, but in stories. Find the one who can weave tales that will hold your heart captive for 1,001 nights. Only then will you find peace." Shahrayar returned to his palace transformed. The Ancient One's words echoed in his mind, offering a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. He knew what he had to do. He announced an end to the nightly executions, much to the relief of his people. Instead, he issued a proclamation. He sought a storyteller, someone who could captivate him with their tales for 1,001 nights. If they succeeded, they would be spared. If they failed, well, the Sultan's wrath remained a chilling prospect. Among the hopefuls, the curious, and the desperate souls, one name emerged: Scheherazade. A young woman of noble birth, Scheherazade possessed a keen intellect, a compassionate heart, and a gift for storytelling that bordered on the magical. And so it began. On a night veiled in starlight, Scheherazade stepped into the Sultan's chamber, ready to weave her magic. She began her tale, her voice a soothing balm to Shahrayar's wounded soul. The Sultan, his heart heavy with the weight of his past, found himself drawn into her words. He listened, captivated, as she spun stories of love and loss, of adventure and intrigue, of faraway lands and mythical creatures. A single night gave way to another and another. With each passing tale, Shahrayar felt the grip of his demons loosen. He found himself laughing again, his heart stirring with forgotten emotions. He was, for the first time, in what felt like an eternity, hopeful. But the threat of King Frederick remained, a storm cloud on the horizon. And as Scheherazade wove her tales, a different kind of tension began to build. The fate of a kingdom, the destiny of a king, and the power of stories, all intertwined in a single, unforgettable night.